I was participating in a seminar in Chicago, an international seminar on Kathak. And the academic discussions, people from different universities, all doctors, PhDs, were discussing dance, and they said that everything in Kathak was totally outmoded. They said, who are these Naikas? Why are we showing this Abhisarika Naika? I mean, does a woman today wait for a man like that? Never. If she wants to go somewhere, she'll take her car and go. And she'll go on a date. And these are all outmoded images. And why do they persist showing these in dance? They cannot relate to contemporary society at all. And this kind of discussion went on for quite some time. We know that all our dance is very contextual, there is no doubt about that. But then I went for the evening performances. And it was the same Thoda, Tukda, Paran, which has been done for the last 40 years, or even more. And I looked at this big gap and distance between what was being talked about and what was actually being shown on the stage. And then the second evening, one of Kumudini Lakhia's very senior students, Vaishali Trivedi, presented an old Thumri. She did just Abhinaya, and it was the Abhisarika Naika. It was so exquisitely done. She sang herself. She's a very good classical singer, Hindustani singer. And the minimalism, her expressions, and the passion with which she did this work really got through to the audience. And, you know, it made one's hair stand on end. And she was given a standing ovation. And then I thought to myself, what are we talking about old and new? What is it that really communicated here? What was the energy that really came across so strongly? So I think whenever we make these comments of something being very old and something being new, ultimately depends on the conviction and excellence of the dancer. A Bala wouldn't have survived when the Devadasi community was going through such hardships if she had not had that quality that was able to transcend the social problems and reach the audience. Even Birju Maharaj today, the way he communicates with all kinds of audiences is because of the excellence. And over the years, I think a lot of young people have found that teaching is a very good way of keeping in touch with what you yourself have learned. And it gives you an opportunity of observing the dance form very closely, seeing how movement sits on other bodies. And I think indirectly, unconsciously, over a period of time, it sort of improves your understanding of how that the body language works in that particular style. And of course, it's a very paid profession today, because more and more youngsters all over are joining these sweatshops, as somebody called them very ironically, being opened in every garage and basement abroad. This is what somebody said. So we have these young gurus, and very often you find that they are not people who are great teachers. Some of them grow to be great teachers, but many of them are not. And what happens to the kind of students they produce? Which is why today I am particularly happy to be talking to young people who've come into the field of teaching. We have Deepika Reddy, who is working in Hyderabad. As Ananda said, she's a very, very passionate teacher, and she's got any number of students growing all the time. We have Kishore Mosalikanti. I think he is one of the most well-informed younger gurus I have met in the Kuchipudi field. And he's got very strong ideas of how to do his work and why he does it in a particular way. And when you ask him questions, he's always got ready answers. I've seen a few of his productions, and I know how he works. And his choreography today, or whatever he composes, is becoming very popular, and a lot of students all over are beginning to perform those works on the stage. Then we have Anitha Guha, who's got a lot of youngsters and have all been surprised with the perfect way in which she has trained these tiny tots. And we have Gopika Varma, who runs a wonderful institution called Dasya, and a Mohini dancer who has had Abhinaya training under the great Kalamandalam Krishna Nair, and she's a wonderful dancer. And from what little I have seen of her students, it seems to me that she's turning out to be a very, very good teacher. Now, we start at the beginning. If I can start with you first, Mosalikanti. You know, we always say that old gurus also used to teach, and today also there is teaching. Are our youngsters the same? When you went to your guru, you remember what you were like. But today you've got youngsters coming to you to learn. How do they react to an entire situation? And what do you have to do to really communicate with them?
Observation was the main mode of learning in our schooling days. I have observed my master. Master Garu is Dr. Venkataraman Satyam for us. He is the only Master Garu in Critic. And there is no chance of questioning him. Even if I want to question him, by the time I go in front of him and if he raises his eyebrow, that's it, I say nothing, I'll just down and then go back. And I'll be observing him when he's talking to some connoisseur or art critic or a bigger artist and then try to get the information that I want. But today, the scenario has changed. The moment I say sit in Armandi, why sir? Why should I sit? Then I say no, this is the posture. This is how the posture looks good. You have to keep your... Everything you need to give them then and there the explanation. And there was a lot of criticism from our teachers. And we can't question them or we can't cry. Even if we cry, we'll be thrown out of the school. But here, if we say something, they will throw the institution out and they'll walk away and they'll go to other teachers. So, as a young teacher, I feel this is our responsibility to deal the students, present generation, as they want, but mold them as we want. So you have to be soft, and there is no much time. I used to spend 5 hours a day in the institution. But today, if I ask the student to spend another 10 minutes, sir, I have a science tuition, sir. I have an MSET examination. I have a party. My friend will get upset. So we have to give them that enthusiasm, interest, and slowly mold them how they have to be to learn this divine art form. So definitely the time has changed, and I think we have to handle them in a very different way from what we have been handled.
First of all, in class, my favorite lines. I keep telling my students while taking class, Arai Mandi please. That is the first lesson. Arai Mandi, they have to at least sit for 10 counts initially and then go on with the other counts. And there's one more thing. I'm a very friendly teacher. First, I make them understand that I'm your friend. That's very important. I talk with them, tell stories to them, and so many things. And I think that attitude is what is very important. I don't think doing so well with my students depends on what I learned. It's only because of my attitude towards the children has helped me mold them to such good dancers. First of all, they need to love to come to dance class. That's the main thing. Then once they love the class and they love the teacher, I'm sure they will work hard to please the teacher and learn the art beautifully. I think that is my experience. Now, for a few things, what I generally do. Aramandi, please, no Korangamandi. Small things which make them laugh. Mukti Viri. My students call this Bharatanjali Mantram. and no duck backs. I want erect spine. I mean, that's the way I put it to them. And now, for a good Natyaramam, I said, no aeroplane movements. I don't want any broken wings. I want a proper bow-like Natyaramam position. These are things which I generally tell my students so that they understand it in their language. And I think basically, everybody has a child in themselves. And I think I'm more a child than I've been like that right from the beginning. And I've been loving to do this for them. And the psychological aspect, the first thing is the psychological aspect, to make them very comfortable and say, I have all the time for you and teach you at your pace. See, we deal with all sorts of students, the talented ones and not the very lucky ones who are very talented, not graceful, or so many things. But they need to have the confidence that everyone is the same. And okay, if you're going to take 6 months for a Natyaramam position or a Natyadava, that's okay, no problem. The only final result is you need to learn it perfectly well. I think that's what I tell my students. Thank you.
My students, especially, they're fed up of me saying that walk properly. They don't know to walk properly, and always I tell, like her in the class, that I don't want any ambassador cars in the class, because to sit proper Aramandalam, they find it very difficult. So these things has to be given training at the very initial stage. And we all did Adavu classes for so many years, 2-3 years of Adavu classes, and then we go to think of Alaripu. And my grandmother, who was always with me in the classes, never dared to ask Vadiyar that when will she perform. But these days parents have no time and they want performance at the earliest. So those classes, that Adavu classes which we went through, is lacking now.
Actually, for me, teaching has been a learning experience, and every day I'm kind of learning something new when I'm teaching. And when you talk about numbers, yes, that's a problem. But I'm having a staggered schedule where I don't try to take too many at one session. That's what I'm trying to do at the moment. And today the scenario is, as Kishore said, is very different from what we learned when Master Garu was teaching us. Subtle hints were enough for us, and there's a lot of spoon feeding now. I'm not trying to say anything against the younger generation, because they're so busy, the peer pressure and the effort that they're making to come to the class itself, I really appreciate. And nowadays the youngsters are very confident, and they don't have any inhibitions about just speaking their mind and talking to the Guru, whatever they feel like. I would like to cite a small example. I was correcting one of my younger students and said, your mudra is not sharp enough. Can you please make it sharper? So the comment was, does ma'am want us to get a sharpener and sharpen our fingers? I mean, this was like a smart aleck answer, she thought, but then we couldn't have dreamt saying that to our gurus. But now we are accepting so many things. And the challenge is to get these kind of children to believe in our art form and practice it and do more sadhana. And one more thing, madam, I would like to say about when it comes to Arangetram. That is a big problem. And here the problem is not with the students. It's with the parents, the anxiety of the parents, because they feel it's a kind of a graduation and they just want their child to accomplish it in a hurry. I try and tell them and work on their psychology and tell them that if you have it done prematurely, it will affect your child, because a lack of confidence or maybe the nervousness will affect the psyche of the child, and it will be very difficult for the child to overcome it in the future. So the patient wait is very necessary till the right time. That's what I feel. And this numbers, because we are in this field to propagate art, so we have to feel happy that we are getting the numbers.